The morning light spilled through the windows of Riverside Diner, casting long shadows across the worn countertops. Alex Reynolds wiped down table 7 with practiced precision, his movements a silent prayer that today might hurt less than yesterday. At 29, he carried grief like an invisible backpack, heavy, always present, but hidden from those who didn't know to look. Boston's South End stirred outside, crimson maple leaves dancing across brownstone steps as pedestrians hurried past. Inside, the scent of coffee and warm syrup created a temporary sanctuary from the October chill. 3 years had passed since Michael's final breath, since lupus had stolen Alex's future, leaving behind medical bills that threatened to drown him in a studio apartment that echoed with silence. Their photo still watched from his nightstand. Michael's smile frozen at 27, unaware that their dreams of growing old together would remain just that, dreams. The bell above the door chimed precisely at 8. Walter Simmons entered here with the quiet dignity that came from 80 years of standing tall through life's storms. His flat cap and cardigan couldn't disguise the wealthy businessman beneath, but his eyes carried something money couldn't buy: genuine kindness. "Good morning, Alex," Walter said, settling at his window table. Still surviving those night classes. Alex's smile reached his eyes for the first time that day. Barely. Social work textbooks make excellent pillows at 3 a.m. Their ritual began black coffee first, then 2 scrambled eggs, wheat toast, and orange juice. But what nourished Alex wasn't the generous tips Walter left. It was how Walter asked about his classes, remembered the names of his professors, and spoke to him not as a server, but as someone worthy of being seen. Education unlocks doors you don't even know exist, Walter often said, his Boston accent softening around the edges. "My Eleanor got her master's at 55, changed her whole perspective." In those moments, Alex glimpsed what family could be. Not the strained silence of his parents after he'd introduced Michael, but unconditional acceptance that asked for nothing in return. The diner buzzed around them, other servers casting curious glances. Lisa, the manager, frowned at their extended conversations. But Alex had learned which battles mattered. This one did. What Alex couldn't know, as Walter sipped his coffee and watched the world pass by, was how their quiet friendship would soon change everything. How a secret revealed would trigger a collision of worlds that neither was prepared to face. For now, though, there was just this: a young man surviving one day at a time, and an old man who recognized in him something worth nurturing. Sometimes, family isn't what we're born into, but what we find in unexpected corners of our broken hearts. If this story of unexpected connection speaks to your soul, follow Heart Stories for more tales of healing, chosen family, and the courage to rebuild when life leaves you shattered. Winter descended upon Boston with icy determination, transforming the city into a landscape of white-dusted brownstones and frost-etched windows. For weeks, Alex had noticed Walter's declining health, the subtle tightening around his eyes, the occasional cough stifled behind a napkin, the way his hand trembled slightly when lifting his coffee cup. Today's absence from his ritual table sent waves of worry through Alex that no amount of bustling diner activity could drown. Table 7's been empty all morning. Jake, another server, remarked while refilling salt shakers. "Your sugar daddy finally finds someone younger." The comment sliced through the air, sharp with insinuation. Alex ignored the barb, his mind already calculating. Walter had never missed breakfast without calling ahead. Not once in 3 years. After his shift, Alex clutched the receipt he'd once glimpsed in Walter's wallet, the address now committed to memory. Beacon Hill loomed before him, historic and imposing, as he navigated snow-covered streets until he found the elegant townhouse with weathered brick and black shutters. His finger hesitated over the doorbell, uncertainty wrestling with concern. When no one answered, the spare key beneath the garden statue, information Walter had once mentioned casually, became Alex's reluctant solution. The house greeted him with stillness and the lingering scent of old books and cedar. Photographs lined the hallway. Walter with a dignified woman whose eyes sparkled with intelligence. A serious-looking man in graduation robes. Family gatherings where smiles seemed more obligatory than genuine. "Walter," Alex called softly, each footstep an intrusion into a world vastly different from his cramped Dorchester apartment. He found Walter in the study, feverish and disoriented, surrounded by scattered papers and medicine bottles. "Eleanor," Walter murmured through cracked lips, his gaze unfocused. "It's Alex, from the diner," he corrected gently, already dampening a cloth for Walter's forehead. "I'm calling a doctor." "No hospitals," Walter insisted, clarity momentarily returning. "Just need rest. They'll only poke and prod and find what they already know." For hours, Alex prepared soup, administered medication, and read aloud from the book on Walter's nightstand. Some financial text that made little sense to him, but seemed to comfort the older man. As evening shadows lengthened across antique furniture, Alex realized he had never before glimpsed the loneliness that wealth could fail to alleviate. When Walter finally drifted into peaceful sleep, Alex surveyed the bedroom's details. The side table with a single water glass, the closet with precisely arranged suits, the photograph of Eleanor positioned to be the last thing Walter saw each night. There were no get-well cards, no evidence that anyone else had checked on this man who had built an empire. "Why are you here?" Walter's voice startled Alex from his observations. The fever had broken, leaving exhaustion in its wake. "You weren't at breakfast." Alex answered simply. "I was worried." Walter studied him with newfound intensity. "Most people see an old man with money. They don't see the person. But you do, don't you, Alex? I see someone who's been kind to me when the world hasn't always been." Walter's eyes glistened. "My grandson Tyler. If he thinks of me at all, probably imagines a cold, heartless businessman who only cared about success. He wouldn't cross the street to check if I was breathing." "Then he never really knew you," Alex replied firmly, straightening the blankets with care that transcended professional obligation. In that moment, a bridge formed between their separate worlds, one built not of obligation or advantage, but of genuine human connection. Neither could have predicted how this quiet act of compassion would soon become the foundation upon which both their lives would dramatically change. Spring-painted Boston with tentative green, cherry blossoms dusting Commonwealth Avenue like confectionery sugar. Walter had returned to his regular breakfast ritual, but something had shifted in his demeanor. A sense of urgency accompanied each conversation, as though he were cataloging memories against some invisible deadline. This particular morning, sunshine streamed through the diner windows, catching dust motes in golden suspension as Alex approached table 7 with Walter's usual coffee. "I need to tell you something," Walter began, his weathered hands wrapping around the mug. "I'm not well, Alex. The doctors have given me perhaps 2 months. Cancer throughout my body." His voice remained steady, matter of fact. "At my age, treatment would just make my remaining time miserable." Alex's vision blurred as unexpected tears formed. "There must be something they can do." "Hush now. Don't cry for an old man who's lived a good long life," Walter said gently. "I've made arrangements. My lawyer will contact you." "Walter, you don't need to." "Let me finish," he interrupted softly. "You've been more family to me these past 3 years than my actual relations. Not because I'm wealthy or important, but simply because I'm a human being who needed connection. That's rarer than you might think." Before Alex could respond, the diner door flew open, admitting a blast of cold air and 3 men in expensive suits. The one in front, perhaps 35, radiated barely controlled fury, his sharp features contorted with disdain as he marched directly to table 7. "So it's true," the man spat, looming over Walter while shooting contemptuous glances at Alex. "I finally track you down, and you're spending your mornings in a cheap diner, making friends with the waiter." "Hello, Tyler," Walter said calmly, though Alex noticed his hands trembling slightly. "It's good to see you, though I wish the circumstances were different." The grandson, the one who wouldn't take his calls. Alex looked between them, noticing the family resemblance now that they were side by side. Don't pretend this is a happy reunion, Tyler snapped. I'm here because my lawyer informed me you've made changes to your will. Significant changes? His gaze cut toward Alex. Care to explain why you're leaving a substantial portion of your estate to a complete stranger? What? Alex's eyes widened. Walter, what is he talking about? Tyler's laugh was bitter. Oh, she doesn't know. How convenient. His eyes narrowed. Let me enlighten you. Alex Reynolds, my grandfather has decided to leave you 40% of his estate. That's approximately $30 million. The diner fell silent, other customers pretending not to listen while absorbing every word. Alex felt nauseated as realization dawned. This was why Walter's lawyer needed his contact information, not for emergency purposes as he'd assumed. That's enough, Walter said, his voice finding strength. Alex has been nothing but genuine and kind. He didn't know about the will, and he certainly never asked for anything. Common courtesy that comes with breakfast and generous tips, apparently. Tyler shot back, turning to Alex. Do you have any idea how many people have tried to manipulate their way into my grandfather's will over the years? Gold diggers, con artists, fake friends, and you've perfected the act better than any of them. I'm not acting, Alex replied, voice shaking but firm. I care about your grandfather because he deserves to have someone check on him, to talk to him like he matters. I don't want his money. Right, Tyler said skeptically. That's what they all say. That's why I've brought my lawyers. We're going to contest this will on grounds that you've exercised undue influence over an elderly man in declining health. Marcus Wilson, the taller lawyer, spoke with practiced condescension. Mr. Houghton, your grandson has legitimate concerns. This young man has been visiting your home, bringing you food, ingratiating himself into your life. The pattern is consistent with elder exploitation. Everything Alex had done out of genuine care was being twisted into something sinister. Each act of kindness reframed as calculated manipulation. He stood frozen, caught in the crossfire of family resentment and legal threats, watching as the simple human connection he'd valued was dissected and poisoned before his eyes. The weight of public scrutiny pressed down as diners openly stared now, whispering behind menus, some faces showing sympathy, others judgment. Alex had spent years trying to rebuild his life after losing Michael, carefully avoiding the spotlight, and now found himself center stage in a drama he never auditioned for, accused of the very thing that would have disgusted him most. The diner had become a courtroom, with Alex standing trial before strangers whose breakfast entertainment now featured his character assassination. Tyler's accusations hung in the air, toxic and heavy, while Walter's face reflected pain deeper than his physical illness. Tyler, stop this, Walter said, his voice weary but determined. You're hurting someone who's been nothing but good to me. Good to you. Tyler's voice cracked slightly, revealing vulnerability beneath the anger. Where was he for the first 82 years of your life? Where was he when grandmother died, when my father died, when you needed family? He wasn't there. I was. His composure slipped further. I came to the funeral. You came to your father's funeral and blamed me for his heart attack. Walter replied quietly. You said I'd worked him to death, that my demands and expectations killed him. Because it's true. Tyler's professional veneer crumbled completely. You pushed him constantly. Nothing was ever good enough. He died trying to live up to standards that were impossible to meet. I know, Walter admitted, tears tracking down his weathered cheeks. I know I failed your father. I was trying to prepare him for a hard world, but all I did was make his life harder. I've lived with that guilt every day since he died. The raw emotions silenced even the most curious onlookers. These weren't the calculated words of legal proceedings, but the messy truth of family wounds festering for years. If you knew that, why didn't you change? Tyler asked, anger deflating into grief. Why didn't you reach out differently? Why am I learning that you're dying from your lawyer instead of from you? Because I didn't think you'd want to hear from me. Walter confessed. Because I was ashamed of how badly I'd failed you and your father. Because it's easier to sit in a diner and talk to a kind young man who doesn't know all my mistakes than to face my grandson and see the disappointment in his eyes. Tyler sank into the chair across from his grandfather, the fight draining visibly from his body. I'm not disappointed. I'm hurt. You're all I have left, and you've been here all this time, 30 minutes from my office, and you never called. I tried, Walter said, dozens of times over the years. You never returned my messages. Because I was angry, Tyler admitted. Because every time I heard your voice, I thought about Oren and how much pressure you put on him. Alex began backing away, recognizing this as a private reconciliation that didn't require his presence. Before he could retreat completely, Tyler's gaze shifted to him, studying his face with new consideration. Tell me about him, Tyler said to Walter, his tone transformed. Tell me who he is, why he matters to you. Walter described Alex's struggles after losing his partner, working multiple jobs while pursuing education, his dream of becoming a social worker to help families in crisis. He spoke of Alex's visit when he was sick, how he remembered birthdays and treated Walter like a person rather than a bank account. As Walter talked, something shifted in Tyler's expression. He sounds like grandmother, he said finally. She was like that and always seeing people, really seeing them. She was. Walter agreed, his voice thick with emotion. Eleanor would have liked Alex very much. Tyler turned to Alex, truly seeing him for the first time. I'm sorry for what I said. I thought you were like all the others who've tried to take advantage of him over the years. I understand, Alex replied quietly. If I had family, I'd protect them too. An unexpected confession tumbled from Tyler then, words that seemed to surprise even him. I never told you, grandfather. I'm gay. I kept it hidden because after everything with Dan, I didn't want to be another disappointment. Walter reached across the table, grasping Tyler's hand. I've known since you were 16. The way you looked at your friend Jason, it was how I once looked at Eleanor. Nothing about who you love could ever disappoint me. My failures with your father were my own, not yours to inherit. The lawyers exchanged uncomfortable glances before quietly excusing themselves, recognizing that what was unfolding required no legal witnesses. In their wake, 3 people remained: an old man facing mortality, a grandson confronting buried truths, and Alex, who had somehow become the bridge between their separate islands of pain. In that moment, they weren't defined by money or status or sexuality, but by the universal human need to be seen, to belong, to forgive and be forgiven before time runs out. Through tears and tentative smiles, healing began taking root in the most unlikely of places, Table 7 of Riverside Diner, where life's most essential truths were being served alongside cooling coffee and half-eaten toast. Summer faded into autumn, and autumn whispered toward winter. Walter's townhouse, once a museum of solitude, now filled with voices, Tyler coming by after work, Alex stopping in between classes, sometimes all 3 sharing meals around the antique dining table that had stood silent for too many years. Walter declined steadily but with grace, his physical diminishment contrasted by the expanding connections around him. Tyler brought old family albums, and together they unfolded stories long buried: Eleanor's passion for gardening, Robert's childhood adventures, family vacations before ambition eclipsed joy. I wish I'd remembered these moments more clearly when it mattered, Walter confessed one evening as they looked through photographs. You're remembering them now, Tyler replied. That matters too. Alex watched their healing with quiet gratitude, occasionally sharing stories of Michael, how they'd met in a community theater production, their dreams of adopting children someday, the way Michael had faced his diagnosis with dark humor and stubborn hope. On a crisp Tuesday morning in November, Walter passed peacefully in his sleep. Both Alex and Tyler were there, having taken to spending nights at the townhouse as Walter's condition worsened. His last words the evening before had been simple but profound. I'm so glad I got to know you both. You've given an old man the gift of family in his final chapter. The memorial service was small but genuine. No corporate associates giving obligatory speeches. Just people who had truly known Walter, the barista from his favorite bookstore, his longtime housekeeper, a few old friends, and of course, Tyler and Alex. True to Walter's wishes, Tyler honored the will without contest. Alex used his unexpected inheritance to complete his degree and establish the Walter Simmons Foundation, providing support to LGBTQ couples facing medical crises. The organization's first fundraiser was held in the ballroom of Walter's former company headquarters, with Tyler serving as board chairman. 1 year later, on Walter's birthday, Tyler and Alex met at Riverside Diner. Sitting at table 7, they ordered black coffee, scrambled eggs, and wheat toast, raising their orange juice glasses in silent toast. "I'm seeing someone," Tyler mentioned casually, though his eyes revealed it was anything but casual. "His name is Daniel. He teaches art at Boston College." Alex smiled. "That's wonderful, Tyler. I'd like you to meet him. You're the first person I wanted to tell." "I'd be honored," Alex replied, understanding the significance of being chosen as family. They sat in comfortable silence, watching morning sunlight paint the bustling street outside. Different lives, different paths, connected by one man who'd finally learned that legacy isn't measured in real estate portfolios or corporate acquisitions, but in the hearts touched and the love given freely. As they prepared to leave, Tyler hesitated. "Do you think he knew this would happen? That we'd become friends?" Alex finished. "Family, I think Walter hoped, but even he couldn't have predicted how completely his life would change ours." Outside, Boston continued its relentless pace, pedestrians hurrying past unaware of the quiet transformation that had occurred inside the unassuming diner. Among them walked people carrying their own invisible burdens, their own unspoken hopes, their own need for connection. Sometimes the greatest inheritances aren't built from wealth, but from how we treat each other in everyday moments. Sometimes family isn't defined by blood, but by who shows up when the world feels darkest. And sometimes the most profound changes begin with something as simple as a regular table, a cup of coffee, and the courage to truly see another human being. Have you ever found family in unexpected places? Or has a chance encounter changed the direction of your life? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Subscribe to Heart Stories for more journeys of healing, chosen family, and the bridges that connect us when we're brave enough to cross them.